The sound of fabric tearing echoed through the penthouse like a gunshot. Sonia froze. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She simply stood there, her hand instinctively clutching the side of her satin dress, now ripped clean down the middle. Her other hand rested protectively over her round, 7 months pregnant belly. Across from her, Rajiv stood tall in his tailored navy blue suit, breathing heavily, his face twisted in cold rage. And behind him, like a shadow too confident to hide, stood Kiera, the woman Sonia had tried so hard to ignore. The mistress. Kiera's red lips curled into a smug, silent smile. Sonia could feel the blood draining from her face. Her throat tightened, and her heart thudded painfully against her ribs. But she wouldn't cry. Not in front of them. You embarrassed me in front of the investors, Rajiv growled, brushing a speck of lint off his sleeve like she was dirt on his clothes. Wearing that circus tent? What were you thinking? I'm pregnant, Rajiv, Sonia said softly. You know I'm pregnant. Rajiv didn't respond. He just looked at her, through her, like she was some inconvenience he couldn't wait to discard. Sonia swallowed hard. The silence felt louder than his shouting ever could. Let her go, babe, Kiera said behind him, stepping forward. She'll only ruin your night. And that dress, yikes. Rajiv didn't stop her. He never stopped her. And for a brief second, Sonia thought about the fashion show next week. The one she had planned. The one she had worked on secretly, pouring her heart into every fabric choice, every model, every stitch. It was supposed to be her comeback. Her escape. Her story. Rajiv didn't know she was behind it. But he would. And when he saw what she'd created, when he realized who she truly was beneath the quiet smiles and soft voice, maybe then he'd understand what he destroyed tonight. Or maybe, he'd come to regret it in ways no one could imagine. 10 days earlier. Sonia had never been weak. Quiet, yes. Soft-spoken, maybe. But never weak. She grew up in a small town in South India, raised by a single mother who stitched clothes to survive. Sonia learned early how to make beauty out of scraps, how to find dignity in silence. When she met Rajiv, he was already climbing the social ladder in Mumbai. Slick, rich, and impossibly charming. He said all the right things, showed her a world of luxury she'd only seen in magazines. She believed in him. She loved him. And he did love her, at first. But power changes people. Slowly, like water boiling under a lid. The signs were small at first, cutting her off in conversations, laughing at her English, mocking her choices. Then came the isolation, the parties she was no longer invited to, the models in his phone, the perfume she didn't wear lingering on his suits. Still, she stayed. Because she was pregnant. Because she believed families could heal. Because she'd made a vow. But a vow made alone becomes a prison. 3 days before the show. Sonia sat in the back room of the small boutique in Delhi she had quietly rented under a friend's name. The space smelled like hope and old wood. Mannequins lined the wall, wearing pieces she had designed from scratch, ethnic fusion gowns, modern saris, even a line of maternity couture. Each piece had a story. One dress was made from her mother's old wedding sari. Another was inspired by her first heartbreak. And the centerpiece, the one she hadn't shown anyone, was the one she planned to wear herself on the night of the show. A bold crimson gown that hugged the belly and flared like rising fire. It was a dress for warriors. Are you sure you want to walk the runway? Her friend Zara asked, pinning the hem of a sleeve. You'll be 7 months pregnant by then. That's exactly why I have to, Sonia said. I want people to see that motherhood isn't weakness. That you can still create, still rise. Especially when they think you're broken. Zara smiled, but her eyes were full of worry. Does Rajiv know? Sonia shook her head. Not yet. But he will. The day of the incident. The charity gala was supposed to be routine. Sonia had been attending these events for years as Rajiv's silent shadow. Smile, wave, look perfect. Never speak unless spoken to. But that night, she'd worn one of her own designs. A soft lavender dress, flowing and elegant, made to embrace her pregnant belly with grace. She didn't tell Rajiv she'd made it herself. She just wanted to feel beautiful for once, for herself. He had noticed the moment she stepped into the room. He didn't compliment her. He waited until they were alone in the penthouse suite hours later. Waited until Kiera showed up, uninvited but always welcome in his world. That's when it happened. The shouting. The accusations. The tear. He tore the dress down the middle and walked away like he hadn't just humiliated her in front of another woman. That night, Sonia didn't sleep. She packed quietly, methodically, just a few things: sketchbooks, USB drives with her designs, a framed photo of her mother, and the red runway gown. She didn't leave a note. Rajiv wouldn't notice anyway. Not until he needed her to smile for a photo again. Zara picked her up before sunrise. The fashion show. A week later, Sonia stood behind the velvet curtain, her heart pounding so hard she thought the baby might feel it. The venue was buzzing with whispers. The show had drawn influencers, fashion editors, designers, even some of Rajiv's investors, unaware of the drama playing out behind closed doors. Backstage, models waited in her designs, strong, diverse women from all walks of life. No one knew the designer's identity yet. It was part of the mystery. A branding move Zara insisted would drive curiosity. When the final walk was announced, Zara gave her a look. "You ready?" Sonia nodded. Then, she stepped onto the runway. Front row. Rajiv leaned back in his seat, trying to act unimpressed. Kiera was beside him, scrolling through her phone, only half paying attention. Then the lights dimmed. Music swelled. And she walked out. Sonia. In a flaming red gown that caught the lights like wildfire. Belly bold and proud. Head high. Eyes locked on him like she was staring through glass. The entire room fell silent. Rajiv's mouth opened slightly. His hand gripped the edge of his seat. Kiera froze mid-swipe. Everyone began to whisper. That's her? That's the mystery designer? Is she pregnant? Cameras flashed. The crowd rose. Rajiv didn't move. He had humiliated her in private. Now, without saying a word, she had taken back every inch of her dignity in public. But what he didn't know, what no one knew, was that this show wasn't just about fashion. It was about exposing something much deeper. Something buried. And what would be revealed next, could destroy more than just reputations. She's lying. That woman doesn't belong here. I know who she really is. The man's voice cut through the air like a blade, sharp and urgent. Sonia froze mid-turn at the end of the runway. Her crimson gown caught the spotlight perfectly, but her heart was crashing in her chest. The spotlight suddenly felt more like a target than a triumph. Gasps rippled through the audience. Rajiv rose to his feet. Not out of concern, but confusion, and something else Sonia couldn't yet read. His eyes flickered between the man and Sonia, searching for meaning. Kiera whispered something to him, but he didn't respond. For once, even she looked rattled. Backstage, Zara looked like she'd seen a ghost. The man wasn't young. Mid-50s, graying hair, tall and broad-shouldered. He wore a simple brown blazer and looked wildly out of place among the glamour and designer suits. But his voice held authority. It wasn't the shout of a madman, it was the accusation of someone who knew something. Security was already moving toward him. I'm not going anywhere. He yelled. That woman, Sonia Mera, she's not who you think she is. Sonia felt the blood drain from her face. She didn't know this man. Or, did she? His face, it sparked something. A flash. A blurred memory from long ago. I said move, one of the guards ordered, grabbing the man's arm. The man didn't resist, but his eyes never left Sonia. You need to ask her about Sunil Joseph. About the fire in Kalimpong. About the boy who died. The room fell into stunned silence. Then, chaos. Whispers erupted. Reporters pulled out their phones. Influencers started live streaming. And Sonia? She stood there trembling, caught in a blinding light with the weight of a name she hadn't heard in over a decade. Sunil Joseph. She hadn't thought of him in years. And the fire. Backstage, moments later. Zara pulled her backstage, shutting the curtain behind them. What the hell was that? She demanded, her voice barely above a whisper but shaking with panic. I don't know, Sonia said, breathless. I don't know who that man is. Do you? Zara asked, staring hard. You paused when he said the name. I don't know him, Sonia insisted. But her voice cracked. Zara was silent. She didn't believe her. Neither did Sonia. Because the truth was, she did know that name. And the memory was clawing its way to the surface now, unwelcome and cold. Flashback, Kalimpong, 2006. Sonia was only 16. Living in a boarding school near the Himalayan foothills. Her mother had saved everything she could to send her there after winning a small government scholarship. The school was old, beautiful, and strangely isolated. In the winter, the fog made it feel like something out of a dream, or a nightmare. She had a friend there. Sunil. He was a little older. Kind. Quiet. An artist, like her. They would sneak into the art room after dark, sketching, dreaming of the future. He taught her how to paint clouds. She taught him how to sew. There was an attic in the school. Off limits. Rumors said it was haunted. They went there anyway. One night, there was a fire. She remembered flames. Screaming. Smoke. She remembered someone locking the door from the outside. And she remembered running. Alone. Sunil didn't make it out. They said it was an accident. But rumors had spread, some blamed Sonia. She was pulled from school and sent back to her village. Her mother told her never to speak of it again. She hadn't. Until now. Present, dressing room. Sonia sat on a chair backstage, her hands trembling. Zara paced the room like a storm. You need to go public, Zara said. Tell your side before someone else does. I don't even know my side, Sonia whispered. I thought it was over. It's not. It never was. There was a knock at the door. It was the event coordinator. The press wants a statement. And, that man. He's refusing to leave unless he talks to her. Sonia looked up. Did he say his name? The coordinator hesitated. Daniel Joseph. He says he's Sunil's brother. Conference room, 30 minutes later. Sonia sat across from Daniel in a private room on the second floor. He looked older up close. Tired. But not angry. There was pain in his eyes, not hatred. You don't recognize me, he said softly. No, Sonia admitted. But I remember Sunil. Daniel nodded slowly. He talked about you. Said you were the only real friend he had there. A lump formed in Sonia's throat. Why are you here? She asked. Because someone sent me this. He pulled out a photo from his coat pocket. It was a scan of an old sketch. A girl with long hair. Sonia's heart stopped. I found this in Sunil's notebook, Daniel said. I never understood what it meant. Until a few months ago, when I saw your designs online. You've used this sketch in your fabric patterns. She had. Unknowingly. Sunil's sketch had stayed in her head like a scar, and years later, she'd reimagined it in embroidery. That night, Daniel said, voice trembling. Someone locked him in the attic. Do you remember? Sonia looked down. I thought it was the fire. I didn't know he was locked in. Are you sure? Yes, she whispered. I would never have left him there. Daniel studied her for a long moment. Then he slid something else across the table. A grainy, black and white photo. Do you know who this is? Sonia stared at the photo. A tall man, sharply dressed. A younger Rajiv. I think he was there, Daniel said. I think Rajiv had something to do with that fire. Or the cover-up. Sonia's blood turned cold. Rajiv? She had met him years later, hadn't she? Or had he been watching her longer than she realized? Back at the penthouse, that night. Rajiv poured himself a drink, watching reruns of the show coverage online. The viral headlines flashed across the screen. Pregnant mystery designer shocks industry. Runway revelation interrupted by man's accusation. Who is Sonia Mehra, really? He didn't look nervous. He looked intrigued. Kiara sat nearby, legs crossed, scrolling. She's becoming a liability, she said without looking up. Rajiv smirked. Or an asset. Depends how she plays it. Kiara looked at him. You're not worried about the Kalimpong thing? Rajiv shrugged. It's old news. Besides, there's no proof. Kiara leaned in closer. Unless someone finds the letters. Rajiv's eyes snapped toward her. What letters? Kiara smiled faintly. You really don't remember, do you? The wind was sharper than usual that night. Sonia stood outside the abandoned chapel on the edge of the city, her coat wrapped tightly around her as she clutched her belly with one hand. Her baby had started kicking more frequently since the fashion show, almost as if it sensed the storm she was walking into. She looked around. The narrow alley behind the church was deserted. The iron gate creaked open as she pushed through. There were broken stained glass windows, vines curling into the structure, and a smell of old wood and dust that made her uneasy. Why had they chosen this place? Who was this person? And more importantly, what did they know? She took a deep breath and stepped inside. Inside the chapel. The only light came from the street lamps behind the broken glass. Shadows danced on the floor like flickering ghosts. Then she saw her. A woman, probably in her late 40s, wearing a brown trench coat and sunglasses, even though it was night. You came, the woman said, her voice husky, as if from years of smoking or secrets. Who are you? Sonia asked, staying near the door. The woman smiled faintly. A ghost from your husband's past. Sit. This won't take long. Sonia didn't move. Rajiv lied to you, the woman said. He lied about everything. Kalimpong, the fire, even how he met you. Sonia's fingers tightened on her bag. How do you know about Kalimpong? Because I was there too, she replied. I taught at that school. English literature. And I remember the night of the fire. Sonia slowly stepped forward, her heart thudding. You knew Sunil? The woman nodded. He was my favorite student. Soft. Artistic. Too good for that place. Sonia felt her throat tighten. Then why are you here? What do you want from me? Not what I want, she said, pulling a folder from her bag. What you deserve to know. She handed Sonia the file. Inside, old letters, a school registry, and, Sonia gasped, a photograph. It was her. And Rajiv. In Kalimpong. At a school event. But it made no sense. Sonia hadn't met Rajiv until years later, when she was 22, at a boutique opening in Delhi. Or so she thought. The woman spoke softly. Rajiv was in Kalimpong the night of the fire. He was there as a guest of the school's board. His father was one of the trustees. Sonia's head was spinning. But why would he lie? Because he saw something. Or did something. The woman paused. There's one more thing. Something I shouldn't know, but I do. Sonia looked up. The fire wasn't an accident. Back to the past, 2006. That night in Kalimpong had always been foggy in Sonia's mind. But now, guided by this woman's words, pieces were returning. She had argued with the headmistress earlier that day. She had found a hidden drawing Sunil made, a map of the attic tunnels. He had discovered a hidden room under the floorboards where old records were kept. Sunil had believed the school was hiding something. Financial fraud. Abuse. Maybe more. He had asked Sonia to help him take the files and report them. But she had been too afraid. I'll go alone, he said. If anything happens, promise you'll tell someone. She never had the chance. The fire came that night. And she remembered now, just before the smoke came, seeing someone walk away from the attic door. Not running. Calm. She hadn't realized it then. But now, in her mind, it was Rajiv. Present day, the apartment. Rajiv watched the surveillance footage in his private room. He had secretly sent a man to follow Sonia. She had gone to the old chapel, met with someone, stayed for 38 minutes, then left. His expression was unreadable. Kiara entered behind him, holding a glass of wine. She's getting too close, she said, watching the screen over his shoulder. She's always been too curious, Rajiv replied. Kiara looked bored. We should have stopped her earlier. Rajiv's eyes narrowed. She's carrying my child. That didn't stop you from destroying her reputation, Kiara snapped. Rajiv stood, his tone colder now. You forget who you're speaking to. But Kiara only smirked. Do you forget I know what happened that night too? Silence. Rajiv turned away. She continued, voice softer now. You think you buried it all. But it's still there. In letters. In photos. In memories. Then burn the memories, Rajiv whispered. Later that night, Sonia's hotel room. Sonia couldn't sleep. The file the woman gave her was spread across her bed. Photos. Handwritten letters from Sunil. A copy of the old school registry with Rajiv's name highlighted. And a half-burnt note, possibly Sunil's, that read. If I disappear, it's because I know the truth. The tunnels lead to records. They're scared I'll talk. Someone saw me go in tonight. She took a deep breath and pulled out her phone. She texted Daniel Joseph. We need to talk. Tomorrow. Urgent. Then she turned to the last page of the file. A school complaint report, unsigned, but alleging a conspiracy by school trustees to cover up fraud and abuse in 2006. Trustee number 3, Rajiv Malhotra Sr. And below that, scribbled in different ink. He knows. The son knows too. Sonia's stomach turned. This wasn't just about a fire. Or a boy who died. This was a cover-up that went deeper than she imagined. The next day, Daniel's apartment. Sonia showed Daniel everything. He sat in silence, eyes red-rimmed, fingers trembling as he touched the old sketch again. He was going to blow the whistle, Daniel said softly. He found something. That's why they silenced him. Sonia nodded. And now they're trying to silence me. Daniel looked up. They won't succeed. She reached into her bag and pulled out her USB stick. All the evidence from the file. I scanned it. But there's something else I need help with. What? The tunnels, she said. Sunil mentioned tunnels under the attic. Are they still there? Daniel hesitated. You want to go back there? I have to, Sonia said. It's the only way to find out what he really knew. Back in Kalimpong, 2 days later. Sonia returned to the town for the first time in almost 20 years. It hadn't changed much. The mountains still loomed in the distance. The fog rolled down the hills like ghosts coming home. The old school building was abandoned now, closed down after a series of lawsuits and scandals. Daniel had gotten them access. Together, they climbed up to the attic. The air was thick with dust and silence. Sonia knelt down, feeling the floorboards. Then she found it, just as Sunil had described. A loose panel, barely visible. Underneath, a narrow tunnel. Still intact. She looked at Daniel. Let's go. Inside the tunnel. They crawled through the darkness, the flashlight flickering as rats scurried away. After 10 minutes, the tunnel opened into a small room. Old metal filing cabinets. Burnt paper. Rusted locks. But in the corner, a wooden box, covered in soot. Inside, documents. Receipts. Donation fraud. Abuse reports. And a single, sealed envelope labeled. If I die, tell the world. Sonia opened it, tears filling her eyes as she recognized Sunil's handwriting. Drop the envelope. The voice echoed through the tunnel like a curse. Sonia's breath caught in her throat. Daniel froze, shielding her with his body. The figure at the tunnel entrance stood completely still, gun raised, voice calm, like someone who had rehearsed this moment. His face was still hidden in the darkness, but his intent was clear. Daniel's voice trembled. You don't have to do this. Whatever you're protecting, it's not worth another life. I'm not here for you, the man said coldly. I'm here for her. The flashlight flickered. Sonia clutched the envelope tighter to her chest. Why? She whispered. Why are you doing this? Silence. Then the man stepped forward, into the light. And Sonia gasped. It wasn't a stranger. It was Arjun, Rajiv's longtime driver. The same man who had opened car doors for her, carried her shopping bags, and smiled politely every morning for years. You? Sonia breathed. You've been spying on me? Arjun didn't flinch. I've been protecting Mr. Rajiv. Since the beginning. A loyal man's confession. Sonia stared at him. You were in Kalimpong too, weren't you? Arjun's jaw tightened. I drove him there. The night of the fire. I saw things I shouldn't have. I helped him escape. Daniel moved slowly, trying to position himself closer to Arjun. But why come now? Sonia asked. Why threaten me? Because you weren't supposed to remember, Arjun said. He paid everyone to forget. He built his life on that silence. If this gets out. His voice cracked for the first time. We all burn. Daniel suddenly lunged forward, grabbing Arjun's wrist. The gun fired, once, a deafening bang in the tunnel. Sonia screamed. The sound of struggle echoed off the stone walls. Dust rained down from the ceiling. And then, silence. Daniel groaned, holding his arm, grazed, but not seriously hurt. Arjun was unconscious, his head bleeding from where he'd hit the wall. The gun lay beside him. Sonia dropped to her knees, shaking. It wasn't over, but they had bought time. Escape and emergency. Daniel used his scarf to tie Arjun's hands. We have to go, he said. Now. They rushed through the tunnel, back the way they came, Sonia clutching the envelope. Outside, the air felt electric. A storm was rolling in. They reached Daniel's car and sped away from the abandoned school just as rain began to fall. Revelation: what the envelope contained. Back in their motel room, Sonia opened the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside, Sunil's final statement. A handwritten confession, dated the day before the fire. I found the original ledgers in the basement tunnel, hidden in the old headmaster's filing room. They show that the school's trustees were siphoning money from donations. I think it goes higher. Much higher. I showed the documents to Mr. Malhotra Sr. yesterday. He smiled. Told me I was brave. Said I reminded him of his son. Then he made a call. Last night, someone followed me. I think they know. If anything happens to me, if this letter survives, I want you to know, I trusted Sonia. She was the only one who listened. Tell her. I forgive her for not coming that night. Sonia's hands shook as she read the words over and over. She had just received a message from a blocked number. Your name is in the ledgers too. Don't trust him. Attached was a photo. A ledger page. Her signature, next to a donor fund transfer. She turned to Rajiv, who was on the phone. They found it, she said quietly. Rajiv looked at her, his face suddenly unreadable. Who sent this? I don't know, she replied. But it means one thing. He nodded. We move now. Sonia's decision, go public or stay safe? Daniel sat across from Sonia as she stared at the documents again. You can go to the police, he said. Or the media. They'll bury him. But at what cost? Sonia whispered. He's the father of my child. If I do this, my life changes forever. You already changed, Daniel replied. You became the kind of woman who walked into a haunted chapel alone. Who crawled through tunnels. Who stood in front of a gun. Sonia looked up, her eyes filled with fire. He wanted me to feel small. Like I couldn't survive without him. But I'm still here. She opened her laptop. Started typing. The message that shook the city. That night, Sonia published a blog post titled, The Fire They Tried to Forget, My Truth. She included redacted versions of the evidence, protecting Sunil's identity but naming the Malhotra Foundation. Within hours, it went viral. By morning, media outlets were calling. Former students began sharing their stories. And an anonymous user posted. I was a night guard at the school. I saw a man in a gray suit leave the attic moments before the fire. He wasn't a student. He drove a black Ambassador car with tinted glass. That detail matched exactly what Rajiv had driven in 2006. The cracks were widening. Rajiv's counterattack. In response, Rajiv's PR team released a statement. These are the false, delusional claims of a disturbed woman seeking revenge for a failed marriage. Mr. Malhotra is a respected entrepreneur and philanthropist with no connection to the events described. They also filed for full custody of the unborn child, claiming Sonia was emotionally unstable and a danger to herself and the baby. It was brutal. Cold. And it backfired. The public turns. People didn't buy the official statement. Too many holes. Too much arrogance. A petition supporting Sonia gathered over 500,000 signatures in 2 days. News outlets began investigating the Kalimpong school scandal. A journalist from the Caravan reached out for an exclusive. And then, Arjun disappeared from police custody. A final message from the dead. Late one night, Sonia received a package. No return address. Inside, a USB drive. On it, an old audio recording. It was Sunil. His voice. Shaky but clear. "If you're hearing this, it means I didn't make it. I'm sorry, Sonia. I wish I had been stronger. But I know you'll find the truth. You always believed in the light, even in that dark place. Don't let them win. You're not just a survivor. You're the storm." Sonia sat in silence, tears rolling down her cheeks. She had what she needed. But something inside told her, this wasn't over yet. The voice on the phone had been calm. Almost polite. "You've gone too far, Sonia. If you don't stop, your child won't have a mother." Then silence. Sonia stood still in the dark motel room, the phone slipping from her hand. Her heart was pounding so violently, she could feel it in her throat. Her baby moved, one sharp kick, like a warning from within. She placed her hand gently on her belly. "I hear you," she whispered. "I'm not letting them take us down." But she knew this wasn't just about journalism or closure anymore. This had become war. Running again. By sunrise, Sonia was gone. Daniel had arranged for a contact to drive her to a safe house far outside the city. The roads were unfamiliar. The towns, forgettable. Sonia didn't ask for details. She didn't want to know. The less she knew, the safer she would be, for now. The house was quiet. A faded colonial bungalow in the middle of a tea estate in Assam. Birds chirped from the trees. The air smelled of soil and green. She stayed in the attic room, with no mirrors and no signal. A caretaker brought food. Daniel checked in once a day through a burner phone. But Sonia couldn't sleep. She kept seeing Arjun's bleeding face. Hearing Sunil's trembling voice. And worst of all, Rajiv's smile, the cold, rehearsed smile he gave to the media, to investors, to the world. The same one he gave her before he ripped her dress. An unexpected visitor. One afternoon, Sonia was on the porch when she heard the rumble of an old car. Her breath caught. No one was supposed to come. She reached for the wooden cane the caretaker had left for support, but there was no time. The car stopped. A figure stepped out. Tall. Female. Dressed in a navy coat. A scarf around her head. Sonia's muscles tensed, until the woman pulled the scarf down. It was Anjali. Rajiv's first wife. Face to face with the past. Sonia hadn't seen her in over a decade. Not since the wedding day, when Rajiv had awkwardly whispered that his first marriage had been just a political convenience. A mistake. "She was never like you," he had said. Now, Anjali stood in front of her like a ghost from a forgotten chapter. "You look tired," Anjali said. "You look rich," Sonia replied. Anjali smirked. "You're still sharp." Silence stretched between them like a tightrope. "Why are you here?" Sonia finally asked. "I want to help you," Anjali said. "Because what he did to you, he did to me first." Anjali's truth. They sat across from each other in the garden, sipping warm herbal tea. Sonia watched Anjali carefully. The woman was elegant, calculated, and strangely kind. "He made me disappear too," Anjali said, her voice low. "Only difference, I agreed to it. I took the payout, moved to London, changed my name. But I kept watching." "You knew?" Sonia asked. "About the school, the fire, Sunil?" Anjali nodded. "I knew parts. My father was one of the trustees. When I married Rajiv, it was to strengthen the Malhotra name. But Rajiv was never interested in legacy. He was obsessed with power." She looked Sonia in the eye. "You have no idea how deep it goes. That fire wasn't just about hiding fraud. It was about eliminating the only person who could link the Malhotras to a land scam tied to political funding. Sunil found documents showing a chain of illegal transfers through the school trust. Sonia clenched her fists. Then why are you here now? Because I think Rajiv is planning something worse. You've become a problem he can't control. And when that happens, he doesn't just threaten. They disappeared. Anjali handed Sonia a small envelope. Inside was a list of 7 names. All former students or staff of Kalimpong school. All had vanished over the past 15 years. 1 died in a bike accident. 1 moved abroad and was never heard from again. 1 committed suicide. The others were simply missing. Every one of them had either worked in administration or had been close to Sunil. Sonia read the names, her hand trembling. One name stood out. Saira Khan, her roommate from Kalimpong, and the one who had gone to the headmaster after Sonia's warning. She disappeared 2 years ago, Anjali said. Her parents were told she eloped. I don't think she did. Reaching deeper. That night, Sonia made a decision. She wasn't going to run anymore. She asked Daniel to meet her at a secure cafe in Guwahati, near the Brahmaputra River. Anjali came too. They laid out everything, documents, recordings, names. Daniel's face was pale. This isn't just scandal. It's organized crime. Political. Financial. Maybe even murder. Sonia nodded. And he's still walking free. We need help, Anjali said. Someone on the inside. Daniel leaned forward. I know someone. The hacker with a past. His name was Rehan. A quiet tech genius from Chennai, Rehan had once been arrested for hacking into a political party's servers. He now lived off-grid, offering digital protection services to whistleblowers. Daniel trusted him. Rehan met them in an abandoned bookstore outside the city. He wore a hoodie and carried 2 laptops. He barely looked at Sonia. But he spoke with precision. You want digital evidence to hold up in court. I can trace deleted bank logs. Encrypted messages. Geodata. But I need 72 hours and full access to Rajiv's communication history. How do we get that? Sonia asked. You don't, Rehan replied. I do. Rajiv unravels. Back in Mumbai, Rajiv's world was starting to crack. Kiera had moved out. She had discovered recordings on his hidden phone, conversations between Rajiv and trustees, planning the fire. One recording chilled her blood. Rajiv, make it look like an accident. Unknown, the kid. Rajiv, he's already dead, wait. And if Sonia ever remembers, handle it. Kiera left a voicemail for Sonia. I know I was part of the problem. But I didn't know the truth. I'm scared. He's not who I thought he was. Then she went silent. Attack in the rain. 3 days later, the safe house was attacked. Sonia was alone, reading Cyrus' diary, found through Rehan's digging, when she heard glass shatter downstairs. She ran. 2 men, faces masked, broke in with knives. She ran through the back door, barefoot, into the monsoon rain. Fell. Got up. Ran again. Mud soaked her clothes. Branches tore her skin. She kept running. Until she reached the road, where Anjali's car screeched to a halt. She jumped in. They drove away, chased for miles before losing the tail. The real bombshell. At Rehan's hideout, they regrouped. He handed Sonia a drive. This, he said, is everything. Bank logs. Secret chat backups. GPS data from Rajiv's car the night of the fire. Encrypted documents proving bribes to police and trustees. But it was one photo that changed everything. An old scanned image from a security camera near the school. The night of the fire. Rajiv stepping out of the building. But he wasn't alone. He was holding the hand of a young boy. Not Sunil. Another child. Unknown. Unidentified. The question that changed everything. Who is that child? Sonia whispered. Rehan looked confused. There's no record of any other student present that night. Anjali froze. Her voice cracked. I think I know who it is. Sonia turned. What are you saying? Anjali took a deep breath. Rajiv and I had a son. Before the marriage ended. He was sent to Kalimpong under a false name for protection. He was never supposed to be part of any scandal. I thought he was in Switzerland. Sonia dropped to her knees. Do you mean? Rajiv let the building burn with your son inside? No, Anjali said. I think he took him. The photograph burned in Sonia's hands like a live wire. That boy, his face barely 12, eyes uncertain, stood next to Rajiv outside the school the night it was set on fire. No name. No mention. No record. Just a caption, handwritten in blue ink. The boy who wasn't supposed to exist. Sonia's world tilted on its axis. The real puzzle. Daniel's voice was calm, but his eyes weren't. We've confirmed through facial analysis, this boy doesn't match any official student enrolled in Kalimpong school. No admission papers. No health files. No parents listed. Rehan, hunched over his laptop, added, I cross-checked against known aliases Rajiv has used. There's one connection, an offshore trust fund in the name of RA Foundation, sending monthly payments to an unknown caretaker in Nepal. Sonia leaned forward. So, Rajiv kept the boy alive? Anjali's voice cracked. My son's name was Ayan. I gave birth to him quietly. Rajiv insisted we hide him, for political safety. He said he'd send him abroad after school. Her lip trembled. But if that's Ayan, why would Rajiv fake his disappearance? Daniel said what none of them wanted to hear. Because Ayan knows something. Something that could destroy him. A new mission. Rehan traced the last digital payment to a village just outside Pokhara, Nepal. Within 12 hours, Sonia, Anjali, and Daniel were on a private road trip across the border. Anjali wore dark glasses, Sonia a scarf. Rehan stayed back, monitoring from his encrypted hub. The journey was quiet, tense, filled with unsaid words. As the jeep rolled into the misty hills of Nepal, Sonia felt her baby kick again. A sudden, strong jab. Almost like urgency. I feel like we're running out of time, she whispered. The boy in the cabin. They found the cabin at the edge of a forest, near a monastery. Old. Remote. Guarded by silence. Inside was a woman in her 60s, stooped, warm-eyed. She looked at Anjali. Then at Sonia. I knew you would come someday, she said softly. She called out in Nepali. Footsteps came from the back. And then he appeared. Taller now, 17 at most. Hair dark and tousled. Eyes that flicked between them, confused and cautious. Sonia's breath caught. Anjali nearly collapsed. Ayan. He didn't speak at first. He just stared. Then, in a low voice. I remember the fire. The truth at last. Over hours, and in broken, painful phrases, Ayan unraveled the story. I saw Dad talking to the headmaster. I was hiding near the office. I wasn't supposed to be out of the dorm. I heard them mention final plan, and a man named Sunil. He looked down. I followed him. I saw the fire start. I saw the headmaster leave. Sonia leaned forward. And Rajiv? Ayan swallowed. He told me to run. But then he locked the front gate. Said I had to stay hidden. For my safety. He looked at Anjali. He told me you died. Tears ran down Anjali's face. I'm so sorry, my son. Ayan wasn't crying. He looked at Sonia. There was another boy. He tried to help me. I don't know his name. He stayed behind. Sonia whispered, that was Sunil. Decision time. Back in India, the clock was ticking. Rehan had already sent a teaser packet to 3 journalists and 1 honest government officer, containing a preview of the evidence. Just enough to ignite media interest. Not enough for a cover-up. Now, with Ayan's testimony, they had the final piece. But it was dangerous. We need to bring him forward, Daniel said. He's the living witness Rajiv thought was gone. Anjali was silent. Sonia placed a hand on her shoulder. You don't have to hide anymore. Anjali looked up, her voice raw. And neither do you. The fashion show. The show was buzzing. Held in Mumbai, hosted by a global fashion brand, and organized by none other than Kiera Kapoor, now estranged from Rajiv and publicly distancing herself from him. Sonia had stayed silent for a week, healing, preparing. Then, on the day of the show, she made her move. Not with drama. With dignity. She wore a dress designed by a student from a survivor's home for abuse victims. Simple. Elegant. White silk. A single scarlet thread along the seam, symbolizing pain and healing. As she walked the runway, the crowd gasped. Because this was the woman Rajiv had humiliated, pregnant, disgraced, forgotten. Now, she owned the spotlight. Rajiv's collapse. Rajiv Malhotra was seated in the VIP section. He had no idea she would be there. When he saw her, he went pale. Then red. Then frozen. Sonia stopped halfway on the ramp. Looked straight at him. And smiled. The cameras caught the moment, his frozen expression, her calm defiance. It went viral in minutes. But the real blow came after the lights dimmed. As Sonia stepped off the stage, she handed a flash drive to a top investigative journalist, already waiting. This has everything, she said. Names. Payments. Voices. Blood. The storm. In the next 48 hours, everything changed. News channels erupted. Business tycoon implicated in school fire scandal. Former wife speaks out against billionaire husband. Missing witness found after 15 years. Social media exploded. Photos of Sonia and her baby bump flooded Instagram. Her runway walk became a symbol of resilience. Legal action followed. Rajiv was arrested for conspiracy, attempted murder, destruction of evidence, and financial fraud. Kiera publicly testified against him. Anjali confirmed his lies. Ayan appeared, shaky but brave, on live news, saying, I watched him walk away while people screamed. One more goodbye. Sonia visited Sunil's mother. She carried a framed photo of him, found in old school archives. She placed it on the small altar. He was brave, Sonia said, her voice breaking. He didn't run. He saved Ayan. He helped me remember. The woman held her hand. My son can rest now, she whispered. So can you. 9 months later. The hospital room was filled with sunlight. Sonia held her newborn daughter in her arms. Anjali stood by the window, holding flowers. Ayan was in the hallway, pacing nervously with Daniel, reading parenting books like a soldier reading battle plans. The nurse smiled. She's healthy. Very strong. Sonia kissed her daughter's forehead. I'll never let you feel fear the way I did, she whispered. She named her Mira, after her grandmother. A symbol of rebirth. One last twist. 2 weeks after Mira's birth, Sonia received a letter. No name. No signature. Just one line. I never wanted it to end this way. I only wanted control. But I forgot one thing, you were always stronger than me. R. Sonia stared at the letter. Then, slowly, tore it in half. The lesson. Pain breaks you. But sometimes, it also shapes you. Sonia had been silenced, shamed, and nearly erased. But in reclaiming her truth, she gave voice to the silenced. In saving her child, she helped others find the lost. And in standing up to a man who thought he was untouchable, she reminded the world. Even fire can't destroy the truth.